People might be able to imagine that if you lived in Cuba as opposed to living in Australia, how you might come to value material objects differently.
When I was in Cuba, it took me 3 weeks to buy a toothbrush. It's the land of empty aisles in like supermarkets. You have to go through like all the supermarkets to get everything, as opposed to just going to one and buying everything. But like some don't have it, and then others will have it, and yeah, it's a pretty interesting place.
Looking from an anthropological perspective, do you think the West has a throwaway culture? And is this positive or is this negative?
It's cheaper to buy a new thing than to fix the old.
Consumption is, paramount. It's a big part of Western political discourse.
How is it that we're culturally being guided in a particular direction? How is it that we act individually in a different direction? Or how do those two things intersect or resist one another? In Cuba, do you think that those forces would play out differently if we were all people who were living in Cuba as opposed to living in Australia? So I mean, our inclination to either buy things or refrain from buying new things, do you think that that would be different if we'd grown up in a different culture?
It has to be. I mean, if I today decided to go off to Cuba, I'd have to just live what's there, It would be a massive culture change and an adjusting, but I'd have to just go along with it and accept it as it is and be grateful with what I do eventually get.
Why do you think that water is viewed differently by Indigenous people and mining companies in the Atacama? Can you think of other examples in which this has occurred, where differences have occurred?
In Bolivia, there were certain international IFIs that tried to privatise the water because they said it might be good for conservation. People only buy as much as they need. And then the whole Bolivian populace, basically all the indigenous people, just rose up, and the water wars, they called it. And it was sort of like in the West, if someone privatised the water in Brisbane, like we can whinge about it, but we don't actually do anything.
I guess water has more of a value when it's scarce or when it's hard to come by. If you have a lot of water, then no one really thinks too much about who owns it, who distributes it. As long as there is enough water, nobody gets too upset about how it's being managed.
In the third world, like monocultural farming has horrible effects on the land and things like that, but also you've got a country like the Democratic Republic of Congo. The World Bank estimates about $24 trillion worth of minerals in the soil. Coltan, the thing that's in your mobile phones, most of it's mined in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So we sort of export this material ideology of this is important. Before that, they wouldn't have understood why, and why do you want that? It's a mineral, and it's not going to do anything for you. It's not going to feed you or quench your thirst.
Our cultural relationship to things, or our need for survival via our use of things. How do you think anthropology could help look at those things?
The good part of anthropology is not just the fact that, we learn something, but you're able to pass that knowledge on to others.
I think anthropology really can sort of educate us on that point and help us understand how other people live.